Hi everyone, my name's Kate Kalthoff and welcome to a Stamping to Share video. This card was cased from one of my downline. Her name is Laura Erickson and she brought a swap card a couple months ago to one of my downline meetings, and when my customers saw this swap card they were like, hey, we have to make this, we have to make this. And so we are making it. We're going to make it in July and August, and I thought I would share with you how to create this card. Now I did add a few touches that are uniquely me. One is that I have the card opening this way. I really enjoy cards that, you know, sometimes when you put a card like this, after a little bit of time, it ends up going like that. And so I like my cards to always stand up. That's why I do these long cards. And then I also darkened up the background from Laura's original card just to make it look a little bit more vintage-like. And so I'll go ahead and show you how to create this. The first thing that we're going to do is use some soft suede cardstock. I've cut this at 4 1/4 by 11 and scored it at 5 1/2. And you can see I've just folded that in half. And the next panel will be Early Espresso, cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And we can just go ahead and layer this card right now, right on top of our soft suede card base. So I've put a little multi-purpose liquid glue on there, and I'm just going to set this right on our card base. Make sure my layers are nice and even. And we are set. We can let that sit aside for a bit. And then we have a couple of layers. We've got 2 Whisper White panels here at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. One of these will be the outside panel and one of these will be the inside panel. And we can probably go ahead and start stamping those. So here's a piece of scrap paper. And the first thing that we're going to do is using some Early Espresso ink and then the stamp set called the Open Sea, which looks like this. You can see there's a sailboat here that we'll be using, a map, kind of a ledger type of thing, and then also an anchor. And so we're going to ink that up, take the Early Espresso ink that up, and then we are going to stamp a background onto this Whisper White paper. So we'll just go ahead and fill this in so it's fully filled in. Do one, couple more. One here and then one more. Move this up a bit and put one there. All right, so now we have our background started. The next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to take the stamp set called Gorgeous Grunge, and it looks like this. We're going to be using this set of fine dots and then also these larger splotches. So the fine dots I'm going to again ink up, and I'm going to use soft suede for that. And I'm going to grab my dots here, and I'm just going to start putting some soft suede dots down. And I'm actually inking up and then stamping 2nd, 3rd, 4th generations all over. Okay, so that looks good to me. Now we can set that aside. Then we're going to take the ink color called Lost Lagoon, and taking this bigger splotch, we're just going to start splotching. And again, I'm being pretty liberal with this and using several generations of ink color. And I think that is good. Maybe one more splotchy piece. There we go. All right, and now let's see, what do we need to do next? We need to take a sponge and using soft suede ink, we are going to go in and sponge our edges. And this is just going to do some magic for us. I love how this looks. So we're sponging all the way around our edge. And then I'm going to take this sponge, and after I've taken some of the excess ink off, I'm just going to lightly go over the top of it, giving it sort of that tea-stained look, real vintage and old-fashioned. Okay, so now we have our background done, so we can go ahead and we'll just put this right on our card base. It is ready to go. So I'm just going to use a little bit of snail, and we'll set this on here. Just center it in and call it good. All right, let's bring the original card back into the picture. We have a sailboat here, and then we also have this real nice porthole looking thing. And our anchor, and our inside. Let's do the inside panel real quick. I forgot about that. Here's our inside panel. We're going to take our dots again, our small dots inked up in earliest soft suede. Just kind of splatter those around. And then we'll take a couple of these Lost Lagoon bigger pieces here. And then we'll need our anchor. We're going to ink that up, and I'm going to ink the anchor up in Early Espresso. Put that down here. Alright, so we have our inside panel done. So we can go ahead and put that in our card as well. And now we are ready to move on to the next part. Our inside panel, outside panel, and let's move on. So we have, get this out of the way, I went ahead and I grabbed these circle framelits, and if you number them 1 through 9 on the smooth edges, with 1 being the smallest, we're going to use 3 of them. We are going to use 5 and 7. So 5 and 7 to make our porthole piece. So we can take this off. And this is just a scrap of soft suede, if you're wondering. And then this center panel, we are going to take our Early Espresso and our anchor and ink that up, and then we'll set that aside and fussy cut that later. And then our porthole, we need to go ahead and bringing another stamp set into the picture. This one is our hardwood stamp set. I'm going to ink that up with an Early Espresso ink. I'm going to put the porthole down, and then using a press pad over the top, we can go ahead and press that out. I'll grab a paper piercing tool so I can lift it up, get this out of the way, and now we have our porthole. Doesn't that look nice? Then we're going to set a paper piercing mat down, and we're going to take our paper piercing tool and we're going to make our spots for putting the brads. So just like a compass rose, you're going to hit all 4 directions, north, south, east, and west with your paper piercing tool, and then we'll use these small silver brads to accent this porthole. And I did that in advance, so I'm going to set that aside. There's one more thing I need to show you with the circle framelits. I used the number 6 smooth circle, and I'm sure you probably can hardly see this, but this is a window sheet. It just looks really nice over the top of the ship. Makes it look like you're looking out of a real porthole. And so what we need to do now is get our scrap paper back into the picture. And I have gone ahead and I have stamped a ship. And I wanted to let that dry because we're going to be using some sponging around this ship. And if the ship is freshly stamped and wet, it may smear a little bit when we're using our sponge. So I have a sponge wedge, and I've inked it up with Lost Lagoon. And what I'm going to do is create the water first. So I'm just going underneath the ship, and I'm just making, you know, a fairly bold swipe with to create kind of a water look. Bring that up a little bit higher. Alright, and now I'm going to take most of this ink off, and then I'm going to come in from the sides and go right up to where our sails are. Just add some cloud-like features to this card. Then the next thing is to add a little touch of color to this picture. So we're going to take the Cherry Cobbler Blendability pen, and if you don't have blendabilities, just any red marker will do. And now all that's left to do is to use a 2.5-inch circle punch and punch out this ship. So you can see now how much that looks like clouds. There we go. And there's our beautiful ship scene. So now all that's left to do is to do these very last finishing touches. So I have my ship here, and I'm just putting a bit of snail on the back, and I'm going to set this, I suppose about right here. I just want to make sure. Now when you're doing this, make sure your water is going straight across and not like that unless your ship is in a storm. But we're going to pretend it's a calm day. So I'm just going to set this kind of over to the left side, but I'm making sure that I leave enough room all the way around for my port. Then I want to take the window sheet, and I am going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm going to put a skinny little line of glue all the way around on my window sheet. And I don't even know if you can see this. Maybe you can. I'm going to set that right over the top of my ship, just like this. And all that is going to do is anchor our window sheet real nicely. So now our window sheet has been anchored, and now the finishing touch is to take our porthole, as you can see, and we're just going to set this on right over the top of the window sheet and center our ship right in the middle. And I have 4 dimensionals already on here ready to go. So this is secured down. And then finally, last but not least, I did fussy cut an anchor, and I've just tied a rope. Now you could punch a hole through here and tie your rope through that hole, and that's actually what Laura did, but that's just too fussy for me. I just tied it around the whole anchor, made a knot, put some glue dots on the back, and called it good. So we are going to just set this right here. Just lean it up against the porthole, and I'll trim up this natural linen thread, and our card is complete. Let me move this out of the way. You can see it a little better. Bring it up to the light. So there's our card, and here's the first card that I did. And I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you, Laura Erickson, for sharing your swap card with Stamping to Share, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.